Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good time of day, depending on what part of the country or world you're in. Welcome, everyone. This is Banner and Backbone's Anti-Fascist Book Club, episode 7 today, One Party Without Responsibility. I'm Nick Perro, and I'm joined by my colleagues and friends, Chris Goldsmith of the Find Out podcast and On Offense with Chris Goldsmith, as well as the director at Veterans Fighting Fascism and Task Force Butler. He's a busy man. He's got a lot of work to do. Welcome, Chris. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
And then also joined by our friend and returning guest historian, and the only time you'll ever see or hear me say the prefix in front of her is Dr. Stephanie Wilson, because she's asked me not to say doctors all the time. Because then
you can refer to me as doctor, just don't call me doctor.
and host of the Freedom Over Fascism podcast. So welcome again, Stephanie.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
And finally, my good friend and co-host and colleague here at Banner and Backbone and Counterstory Media and Pink Hair and Pronouns and Does She Shut Up and like 5 other things that she does amazingly, and all the investigative work she's doing into Fox security or Fox safety and the surveillance state and legal cases in the Norfolk, Virginia area is the amazing Melissa Corrigan. And today we're back with I believe it's our 3rd episode that we're doing on Timothy Snyder's On Tyranny. And for those who haven't seen it, this is On Tyranny. You can find it online, go to or at your local library. If they have it in stock, if they don't, ask them to get it. They will get it. Librarians are the most anti-fascist people you will probably ever meet. And so we're continuing our discussion, and we're at the point of a party with no responsibility right now. And they take no responsibility for actions. And this sort of gets us into like the meat of the book itself and into the heart of the discussion. So I wanted to open it up to anyone who wanted to jump in. Maybe actually before we jump in, now is a weird time to ask this one is which one of you, Chris or Melissa, want to explain what the book club is and isn't? Because Melissa normally does it, but Chris, you wrote the book club.
Yes, I'm going to defer to Chris today.
Okay, sure. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Goldsmith. I'm the founder of Task Force Butler Institute and Veterans Fighting Fascism. And the big project of Veterans Fighting Fascism, which is a nonprofit, is to help people find a way to organize locally. And as you're seeing right now online. After the election, a lot of people were freaking out and coming to me because I study fascism and I actually combat actual Nazism, hold them accountable in a court of law, that kind of thing. Folks were asking what should we expect? So I did a TikTok video where I gave 5 top books to help you understand what's going to happen starting in January. And I think anyone who crammed through those books has seen that the authors that I chose were right. So folks started organically starting their own book clubs and kept coming back to me for more recommendations, more guidance on starting book clubs. So I wrote up a manual, put it on Veterans Fighting Fascism for free for anyone to access. And it is not just a guide to understanding fascism and authoritarianism and the history of these types of authoritarian movements that we're experiencing now in the US. It's to help you find an excuse to meet people in person or online so that you can build community. No anti-fascist has ever been effective on their own. That is just not the way that you fight fascism. You have to do it at the grassroots level in your local community. Because when the fascists are in the White House and in the halls of Congress, they're also in the school boards. And you and your family will be affected more quickly and in more impactful ways sooner by the fascists on the school board And that is where you and your local community and your democracy, your democratic rights, have the greatest chance to have an impact on pushing back on fascists. So the Anti-Fascist Book Club, if you want to start your own, you can go to veteransfightingfascism.org. The entire guide is there, and I've enlisted Nick on helping me with some updates. We are within the next few weeks. I'm not putting a timeline on it. We're going to have maybe a couple dozen, at least 10 more books to help people understand what anti-fascism is, since now you're all terrorists, according to the current president of the United States.
Yeah. Welcome. I actually like to call myself a freedom fighter. And so I fight for freedom, not a terrorist. I don't terrorize you unless you're afraid of knowledge, and then I'm going to terrorize the fuck out of you. Because if you're afraid of knowledge, then you're not my friend. But yeah, anyway, thanks, Chris, for that incredible introduction to about what the book club is and isn't, and what it's trying to do. And that was one of the things I want to make sure too is clear is this is just a starting point for everyone. Like, this is a once a week online book club for y'all. We love how many people show up, how many people come in, and how the crowd keeps growing. There's other major groups going on right now on Substack. There's huge platforms happening, and that's okay. You guys are here to learn instead, like get a little bit of knowledge that's maybe not news, but more actionable knowledge. So thanks for putting this together, Chris. And yeah, I'm excited about some of the book club updates. I'm looking into some stuff, and yeah, there's some interesting what is Antifa compared to what actually anti-fascism really is. Because we're all anti-fascist here. If you're not, you don't need to be here. Like, bye. So let's get into some of our chapters. Either of you, Stephanie or Melissa, have any comments on any of this before we start, or want to start in on a chapter around the one party state and lack of responsibility and accountability, and how we can
I'm going to defer to Stephanie because I think it's awesome, but my young adult child has literally taken my copy of On Tyranny, and I texted him. I was like, hey, I kind of need you to bring that back. It's very cool that you're reading it, but I got some notes in there. So, Stephanie, you got the floor.
All right. Well, I think that did I write notes? No, I'm just, this is kind of exactly where we are right now, where the Republican Party is kind of crowding out the Democrats with the willing cooperation of the Democrats, which that's another conversation entirely, or maybe it isn't, but like it's scary. So they're not only taking advantage of being the one party that's doing anything. They are probably, I assume that there's blackmail or threats or something that they're doing to Democratic elected officials. But right now, the Republican Party is not only the only party who is exercising power at the national level, it's not true at the state and local levels, but is actively working on undermining the elections of 2026 so that they are the only ones who will win, because they know that what they have to say and do is not popular. So the way that you get power when you're not popular is you cheat and you blackmail and you force and you have a secret police, and they're doing all of those things right now.
And welcome, Tara Devlin.
Welcome to Tara.
I'm so sorry. I'm late.
No, you're totally fine.
Madness. So yeah.
Welcome to the show. Your name does not pop up on the Substack Live for anyone, at least in the group chat.
Oh, weird.
So you may have to set up your I wonder if you could accept the invite
Oh,
late,
is that
and
why?
if it would
Jesus.
add your
You
name
see what I'm
into it.
saying?
But if not, you may need to just pair your channel real quick with a
Yeah,
link
I'll
and
have to
start
do
it if
that.
you want to.
Thank you.
But welcome, glad to have you.
Thank you for accepting me so late. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to have you. We love, the more the merrier, right?
Right.
Knowledge is power, as somebody said.
Exactly. I heard that once or twice.
So,
just to follow on what
yeah.
we were talking about, one party, is that the Republicans are taking power. Democrats seem to be at the national level letting them, but often when the one party becomes the only party to wield power is when the democracy itself dies.
Yes.
And I talked before Tara got on here about, just letting you know, Tara, that talked about elections. They know they can't win them, so they're going to rig them and make it impossible for the Democrats, as the only other party at the national level, to gain more power. Some state and local is different. I live in a blue state, so I see that, and I hope it gives people hope and not despair. But we're talking national level right now.
Yeah. Well, that's what Republicans have been doing for years, but now they smell blood in the water and they're just going for it, and every Republican chest beats the heart of fascism. I've said it for years, and they will try every dirty trick, like you're saying. And unfortunately, I think that the Democrats are kind of on the back foot all the time about this, as if, I don't know. It's really frustrating that
I mean, that is why I named my Substack and soon to be podcast On Offense, because I think that the American left, or progressives or liberals, whatever you want to call it, we have been for far too long responsive and reactive rather than proactive and on offense. A little secret that I learned just a few months ago, as I was setting up my On Offense branding, is that the Heritage Foundation bought onoffense.com a few years ago, and they're just sitting on it. So this is like their entire way of being. They recognize that you have to impose costs on your opponents in order to make progress. Now, their version of progress is fascism. Our version of progress is a lot messier. To build a democratic coalition takes work, and it's something that takes practice. We're not all good at it. We can't all jump in. Right? The No Kings protests, we saw 7 million Americans by, I think, the most reputable estimates. 7 million Americans hit the streets, and so many people who are involved want to know, hey, what do I do next? What do I do next? Because they haven't had the practice of activism and advocacy. And that's what this book club is for. And that's why On Tyranny is one of the very first reads. I mean, the number one reason is because it's short and it's small, and you get an incredible dopamine hit from crushing a book in like 1 or 2 sittings. And I'm very deliberately trying to encourage people to start small, get addicted to that dopamine hit, and then you can hit the bigger books. Like Masha Gessen would not be a good first book. That is not where I want people to start. But to get specific, we're on chapter 3, which on my print is page 26. Beware the one-party state. Timothy Snyder writes, the parties that remade states and suppressed rivals were not omnipotent from the start. So think fascist Italy, think Germany, think modern Turkey, or Russia. They exploited a historic moment to make political life impossible for their opponents. So support a multi-state or a multi-party system and defend the rules of democratic elections. Vote in local and state elections while you can, and consider running for office. I think that for me, I am a millennial. I was born in '85, right? I grew, when I signed up for the army in 2003, went to Iraq in 2005. That was still the age of newspapers. My parents used to send the Sunday Newsday to me while I was in Iraq, and even though it got to me 2 or 3 weeks later, I still really liked having that paper in my hand because that was the speed of news back then. Since then, we have all got so used to, our attention being dictated by algorithms and by, what cable news producers decide is the most important thing or the most engaging thing. And that has focused us so much on Washington. So when people hear that last line, consider running for office, I imagine that most people, the first thing that they're thinking of is a House seat because they think that's what everybody runs for. But that's not where you should start. I don't think that people who are interested in, getting involved should run for an office that anyone even knows exists, right? Like when you go to the ballot box, when the average American goes to the ballot box, there are a bunch of things that you probably get your ballot and you're like, I don't even know what this position is, but okay, there's a D next to their name, so I'm going to check here. Or an
Or
I,
often
or
there's only
or
one
a
person
G.
running. Mhm.
Yeah. So next, November 4th is around the corner. Next time you get a ballot, look at those positions and think to yourself, do I have the time or the capacity to, run for school board or run for my county's legislative body if you've got that kind of thing. These are often not full-time positions. They are, I think, designed so that retired people, are probably best suited because you may have an income that can support your public work. So, for folks who've retired and, went out and saw this crowd of 7 million people across the United States, like if you want to know what's next, you're what's next. Like, go look at that ballot, find someone who's running unopposed, who is, going to enact policies that you believe are harmful, and run against them. Join your local party infrastructure and get involved. You simply showing up is like all you need to get started. Like physically being present at a local party meeting at the county level or whatever. When you show up, everyone there, and there's probably going to be like a few people there, they're going to be psyched because so few people actually have gotten off the sidelines and taken that step. Protesting is useful. It does serve a purpose, but power can only be achieved through democracy. And that is what I want to encourage people to really seriously consider if they have the time and the resources to run a local campaign.
And if they don't, one of my colleagues in Indiana is working on a series. A lot of people don't know how to run for office, all the steps you need to, the pragmatic steps. Where do you file? When do you file? How do you report? Blah, blah, blah. And she's working on a podcast series, which is going to drop next week. But there are resources. There are training and learning resources. And there are groups that support down ballot races in a whole bunch of different states. So you don't need a huge amount of money to run locally. A friend of mine ran for school committee here in Massachusetts, didn't win the first time, tried it again 6 months and won that time. So like, keep trying. You may not win the first time. You may not win the second time, but just being on that ballot, and particularly in red states or red areas where Republicans run opposed all the time, just being on that ballot, giving people a choice, asking for their vote, which most of them haven't been in years, will make a huge difference.
Mhm. I was trying to look up this book when you guys were talking, because I read this book about why our system is so broken. One of the many books. I just I can't find it because I wish I can give it due credit, because it's all about how this system is designed to actually elevate people like Trump because of money in politics, because good people want to participate in their communities, and then they show up and they find out that they have to spend half or more than the bulk of their time on the phone dialing for dollars and things like that. And a lot of the good people are like, I don't want to deal with this. So, and you also have to now have this whole social media game, and it's just you're up against the greedy billionaires who will throw everything at you. So it takes a certain type of personality that I think that this system there. I mean, there is a way. That's why I'm trying to find this book, because he writes about how to what his suggestions would be, and one of the main suggestions is getting money out of politics. That is, in my opinion, besides the meat, it's two sides of the same coin. It's money and politics is the root of this evil, and also the media, the consolidated media. And here comes my cat who wants to jump up, but he's too
So
old.
for folks who are interested in running for something, you can go to runforsomething.net. It's an organization that helps train people how to do all of this type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got the QR code on the screen for their website. So if you scan the QR code in the top corner, top left-hand corner of your screen, you can go to Run for Something, just sign up. I've signed up. I haven't finished filling all my stuff out, but I've signed up, and I get the newsletter and I get information from them, and it helps me help you guys. Like Chris is saying, run for something.
And even if you personally can't run for office, I think if you just support people who are, like, my husband and I were sitting out front watching our daughter ride her bike, and a woman came up with a clipboard and said, "Are you guys registered voters?" We were like, "Yes, of course." And she was like, "I'm trying to get on school board." Before she could finish her sentence, because we have had such issues with the school board, I hopped up and was like, "What can I do?" And she's like, "Well, I need 100 signatures on this page by Friday to even be on the ballot." I was like, "Let's go, girl." I walked her throughout the rest of the neighborhood, because I knew a lot of people and they knew me. So I could say, "Hey, I'm your neighbor down the road that has the big garden and chickens. This lady is running for school board." I could make that introduction. We filled her sheet up and she's on the ballot. So,
and you know what?
Hopping up in the moment and making yourself available to support those people that are running.
Make space for democracy.
Exactly. And you could hold a fundraiser in your yard for your neighbors, where they, it's not a $1 billion fundraiser. It's, give $25 and have some, a Coke or something. And that might be enough to really get her going. The other thing I wanted to say in regard to Run for Something, Amanda Littman is the executive director. She just put out in the last week on the Run for Something Substack 51 things that you can do after the No Kings protests. So if you are really wondering what is it that you can do, she has a list, because people don't know. And in the end, these kinds of protests are in some ways more recruitment to advocacy than they are. I mean, yes, they're a statement, but it doesn't mean anything unless more people keep active. So it's a recruitment vessel, like the March on Washington with MLK. That was the main idea, was to recruit people to the fight.
And it's also how you fight back against a one-party state. Is you always constantly push back with exercising your rights to the peaceful limits and patriotic limits that you're allowed to. Like, the way to fight back a one-party state is to not obey authoritarians. Olga Lautman says it really, really well. She says, instead of "do not obey in advance," just "do not obey." You don't obey authoritarians because they are always going to take, there's no red line with them. They do things blatantly. And because we live in a one-party state right now that has shut down the government to protect pedophiles and
Yep.
prevent the release of the Epstein files, their number one priority is tearing down the White House and building a ballroom. That's
Yeah.
the number one priority. They told us that. That's what a one-party state does.
Yep.
It doesn't give a shit about us.
Mhm.
It doesn't fucking, like, they don't care. They don't care about us. And that's really the problem, is they're trying to crush us under a boot and then get mad when we hold people on our side accountable for
Yes.
actions. And Chris, you guys yesterday on Find Out on the podcast brought up a somewhat controversial, shouldn't be a controversial statement, but it's gotten to the point where I've been called a racist this morning against white people.
Oh, I love that.
Was because I called out Graham Plattner after listening to you guys talk about it, for the Totenkopf SS skull and crossbones that he had tattooed on his chest until just recently getting covered up after having
Unbelievable.
18 years. And
Mhm.
people keep telling me that we should just get over it and just move on.
Get over.
Mistake. He was young and dumb when he did it. I've had a really strong response against that. One, I'm Jewish and I have family who survived the Holocaust, so it means a lot to me. And two, I made the comparison, and I'm going to ask you this comparison, or I'm going to ask you what your thoughts are in this comparison. Is it appropriate?
Mhm.
Had Zohran Mamdani had an ISIS tattoo on his
Uh-huh.
chest for 18 years and got it covered up, say 2 weeks ago, or after it was found out during the mayoral race in New York City, would you vote for him? Would you just get over it?
Mm.
Or would he be
there be a
deported?
huge
Yeah.
backlash in the Democratic Party
Oh,
and the
forget
American populace about that symbology? And can you talk about how that fits into a one-party state sort of mentality and ideology of normalizing symbols, or even operatives or MAGA plants that run as Democrats and then switch parties? Because that's my fear, is he has to prove himself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that this came out over a year before what would be the election, right? This is what a primary is for. It is for testing your candidates. Graham Plattner is the only candidate that I've been genuinely excited about in as long as I can remember. I mean, I wanted Harris to win the presidency, but I wasn't like genuinely excited about her, right? And I can't think about a candidate that I've been excited for since, I don't know, ever, really. Graham Plattner is a veteran. He's a Marine Corps vet who went on to join the Army Reserves after getting out and getting an education. And there are just so many problems with the story that he's telling about this Totenkopf, this death's head skull that is very recognizable for anybody who knows anything about Nazi history. Now, I feel like I'm trapped in my own biases because I am someone who is hypersensitive to these symbols, who sees them everywhere when many people do not. And when I first saw the video that he had released himself, knowing that the opposition research was about to do it for him, I thought it was doctored. Like, I thought this was fake because I could not believe that someone was in the military with this tattoo.
Right.
That they had gotten it and then joined, like he got out of the Marines and then joined the Army and had that on his body the entire time. During MEPS, that should have been found.
Yeah, you have to note all your tattoos and what they symbolize.
Yeah,
You can't have a tattoo that has any kind of racist, Nazi, or white supremacist connection.
Which is why
Hegseth get kicked out of the reserves at one point or something because of his racist ideology.
He was kicked out off of Biden's detail, something like that.
He was basically not allowed to pull security on January 6th.
because he had those types of tattoos.
Trump was the commander, not January 6th, but January 20th, because he had those types of tattoos. Now, I have never seen like the list of tattoos that people at Met are comparing things. I assume, like a lot of things in the military, that it was, I don't know, some sergeant or some civilian contractor who like didn't really give a shit, and that's probably why no one ever made a big deal about it. But I cannot tell you honestly whether or not I would have recognized that skull 7 or 8 years ago.
Well, that's what he says. He says that he didn't know it had a connection to Nazi history.
I do not believe him when he says that he only came to realize it this week. I believe that he's known what it has meant for at least a few years. What I do think is most likely is he was either lazy or embarrassed. Like I think that it was I'll get to this some other time. It's not that important. It's not a priority for me. Or he was embarrassed of not wanting to walk into a tattoo shop and say, hey, this is a Nazi tattoo. Can you cover it up? Neither of those are good things for a Senate candidate. But there's one guy whose name I don't even know, who's polling at 1% in the Democratic Party. And then there's Janet Mills, who, as of a couple days ago, is polling at only 25%. I do not want to see a 77-year-old take that seat. I do not want to see Susan Collins take that seat. So the reality that I'm faced with is Graham Plattner is still, I think, the best of what feel like shitty options now.
Right.
Well, actually, there's the guy who runs Maine Brewing Company. There's a guy.
Go ahead.
Who runs Maine Brewing Company, who is also running, he
dropped out and endorsed
He dropped
Mills.
out?
Yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Mills announced, and he did a whole thing in his bar. It was, I interviewed him a few weeks ago.
You guys had him on the Find Out, and it was a good interview.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, I liked him. I thought he was cool.
But like, is that really the best Maine can come up and offer, is a guy who is too lazy to get a fucking Nazi tattoo covered up? Like, I can't believe that. I can't believe that.
In years, he just raised. He said he realized it this week or this year.
That's what he's claiming now.
Yeah, like,
it's a little sad.
That's a huge lapse in judgment that leads to major mistakes that cost people lives.
Right. Like, what else don't you realize? Exactly. It's just.
And how are we supposed to hold Nazis accountable for their actions if we vote in someone with a Nazi tattoo on them that claims to have not known it? Like, I don't live in Maine, so I can't. It doesn't, like, it's not my Senate candidate.
It will be mine when I move there next year.
It's also a representation of the Democratic Party as a whole.
Yes.
And are we willing to take at face value this white man's word that he has learned or changed or did it as a mistake? But I know plenty of people who have tattoos. I have tattoos all over my over my upper body. I know exactly what every single one of those tattoos mean.
You would think, right? If you're going to put it on your body permanently,
forever. That's a permanent choice. There's no accountability.
Right here, I got this tattoo around the same time that Graham got his. I got mine in 2008. He got his in 2007. I was 21 or 22 when I got this. I did not have a lot of money, which is why you cannot read these words, because it was too small and I didn't know how tattoos age. Right here, it used to say "never again," which I grew up in Long Island. Like, Jewish people were just everyone. Like, half of people were Jewish. You were in Long Island when I grew up. It felt like you were either Catholic or Jewish. If you were Catholic, you were either Irish or Italian. Like, that's what Long Island was to me growing up. I grew up with Holocaust survivors as my friends' grandparents. Like, I knew Holocaust survivors. All of my granduncles fought in World War II. I did not know that never again was a slogan that was so important and so so critical to fighting against the Holocaust and genocide, right? I didn't know until a few years ago that never again had that much meaning to so many people. Ironically, like the polar fucking opposite of Graham Plattner's tattoo. So I can understand having a tattoo that you don't understand the meaning that it has for other people, especially in a place like Maine, where, you know, he has said, oh, I took my shirt off for 20 years at the gym and no one ever said anything. He also doesn't recognize, like, I wouldn't say shit to that guy in the fucking gym locker room if I saw that tattoo. And I'm a professional fucking Nazi hunter. I'm not going to confront him about it, right? So I think a lot of what he's saying is believable, except that he didn't know what it meant until this week. That is the lie.
Yeah.
Can I ask those of you who have tattoos, is what he showed as a cover up, is that a stick on or is that a real tattoo?
Oh, it's real. That's real. Yeah.
The new one is real?
It just looks like
shit.
shit.
It's absolutely real.
It looks like shit. Whatever. Sorry, he did a bad job getting it covered up too.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a bad cover up tattoo.
I mean, I think he should have burned it off his chest. Like, if I had a swastika on my body, I would burn it off. I wouldn't cover it up.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe that's not what a Senate candidate should do, but like, as a veteran, like, that's how my friends handled really fucked up tattoos. Like, they literally burn them off their body, because it's not just performative. Like, I think of tattoos, for me, my tattoos are important, even if they're stupid, because I didn't have a lot of money when I was 21. Like, all of my tattoos, like, justice is really fucking meaningful to me. If I had something inked into my body that meant what a Totenkopf does, like, I wouldn't simply cover it up. Like, I would have to experience the pain of removal. I would, if I were Graham Plattner, I would have wanted to show people that I was willing to endure that pain. That may sound fucking really sick to people, but like, this is like the, you know, I came from a grunt world. This is who my friends are from the military. A lot of shit that we do and did was not fucking normal. And I'm 40 now. I'm 20 years older than I was back then. But I still think this way. For something that fucking bad, he should have taken a K-bar, heated it up with the fucking knife, and smeared it off his body.
Yeah. Like, this just feels performative. To be totally, that's what partially pisses it off. Also, I have a giant Star of David on my forearm for a reason, because one, I'm Jewish culturally. I'm not religiously Jewish anymore, but I'm culturally Jewish. My family is affected by the Holocaust. We have a rich history of it. And oh, guess what? When Jews in the Holocaust happened, they happened to put tattoos right here on their forearm with a number. And so I covered that spot up on my body so it could never be tattooed with a number, so that I already had something there that meant something to me, because that's my grandparent. That was my grandmother's Star of David, and it means something to me. And like, it pisses me off that we're willing to accept the flimsiest of apologies for a white guy, but we hold everyone who's not up to the harshest of, not highest, harshest of standards. We tear everybody apart. They tore Kamala Harris apart for every single fucking thing that she did. And yet we can't ask why Graham Plattner had a tattoo on his chest for 18 years without being called a racist. Like, I'm not a racist, asshole.
Is that what
Yeah,
that's why they called you racist against white people? Why?
Mm.
I don't get the connection now, because you said that
because I was talking about skin. Their excuse was, isn't you mentioning skin racism?
Oh,
you're
Jesus.
just being racist. I was like, no, skin color and oppression, but there's an oppressive factor of racism. Like, you have to actively be able to oppress people. in a
Right.
way to be racist.
But they don't seem to understand that, though, of course.
It's hard.
Because a lot of that's the whole right wing mantra now. They're the most oppressed. White men, straight white men are the most oppressed group, and in order to, even the female Republican, they have to validate that, how victimized they all are. Really, they're the professional victims. It's absolutely sinister, really, but this is what the Nazis did too. They can't help it. The Nazis, and if you read what was that book? Ordinary Men, another great book by, now his name is escaping me, but I'm having a trouble with books today, the authors of books today, but he wrote about, it was about this reserve battalion in Poland, that just ordinary men that happened to get the mission to commit genocide against their fellow Poles. And they were doing it according to the orders, but they were doing it to protect protect Germany, to protect Poland. And it's horrific, the stories of killing babies and whatnot, saying, well, we're protecting the future. And the Nazis were always the ones who were under attack, and they were just proactively committing genocide to protect themselves. And you hear this language in what we're seeing now unfolding in this country, how everything is because of patriotism and protecting the future. It's really disgusting. So
Right. And I think that's in our, like, I'm looking at our panel now, and I'm seeing we can, not just we can, I think we have an obligation in this moment to meet those. And I'm working on this so hard. I read a great article on Substack yesterday. I'll have to look up the title of it and who wrote it, but it was all about the emotional aspect of approaching these conversations and having to be the bigger person and having to be the more mature person. And I struggle with that with my Irish temper, but I'm working on that. And since I have so graciously been allowed back onto my local next door, since I committed the cardinal sin of promoting an anti-fascist book club, and I got a 30-day ban for doing that. But as I come back on
Incredible.
and I'm having conversations, finding ways to very calmly and very politely push back on those narratives when they want to get on their victim train, and just start asking open-ended questions. Well, what exactly makes you feel that way? Can you point to an actual instance in your life that this has happened to you? Because if this has genuinely happened to you, this oppression that they want to claim, then okay, that's not a good thing. So let's talk about what was the scenario in which that happened. And when you give them the floor to actually spell out what this oppression is, what this victimhood is, they either ghost.
They can't do it.
A lot of them just ghost.
Because they have no examples. They're
Right.
hearing this on Fox News, and all their other
Exactly.
Russian-funded influencers are telling them this. So,
but what I'm finding is that those conversations are not. I'm seeing a movement in my local next door, you guys, and I'm hopeful, because what I'm seeing is those conversations are no longer being flagged and removed. They're being left up.
Well,
so when those
good.
people ghost the conversation, that's seen as, hey, we asked you to present evidence and you've left. You've left the conversation instead of providing the evidence. And more people, it's also helping that we also just received those healthcare updates. We're receiving those letters with what those quotes are going to be for our premiums, and people are waking the fuck up. Yes. Also, yesterday here in Norfolk, unfortunately, sadly, we had an immigrant at 11 a.m. yesterday running from ICE, run across the interstate and was struck by a vehicle and killed immediately.
Oh my God.
And this is now something that was not present in our community in Norfolk. ICE has been doing their raids in the middle of the night. And so this is bringing it very rudely, grotesquely, and abruptly into the forefront. This happened on our interstate in the middle of the day. This traumatized the person driving that truck, that will forever have that on their conscience, that they struck a person, every other person on the interstate that saw this happen, and now it's brought out the ICE activity into the sunlight. Let's have this discussion. This happened in our back door, in our backyard, right here. It's bringing the discussion to the forefront. So we have to be able to meet that moment and have those conversations and keep our heads about us, and be the adults in the room to gently keep pushing and have the conversations.
And it's part of what's also laid out in the chapter for that we're focusing on a little bit is the Beware the One Party State. So chapter 3, for anyone in the audience who might have their book too, is on pages 29 and 30. We talked about it a little bit too, is how local organization, but wealth, money, and how it has fixed our system in this way. And money is a real driver as to why we see things at night on ICE campaigns in redder areas. All the raids are at night when nobody sees them. It's driven by money, and it's driven by the need for this greedy prison system and all of those aspects. But the other piece is the big one is, I'll read most of the ending paragraph that leads into page 30 is, does the history of tyranny apply to the United States? Certainly the early Americans who spoke of eternal vigilance would have thought so. The logic of the system they devised was to mitigate the consequences of our real imperfections, not to celebrate our imaginary perfection. We certainly face, as did the ancient Greeks, the problem of oligarchy, even ever more threatening as globalization increases differences in wealth. The odd American idea that giving money to political campaigns is free speech means that the very rich have far more speech and so in effect far more voting power than other citizens.
Absolutely. And this is the problem, right?
Yeah.
Money and
it's the
politics.
Citizen United. It's the propaganda that gets to come out because of it. But it's the conundrum of what Melissa, you were doing with your neighbor, is she needed 100 signatures. But the next step is, if she is on the ballot, she needs money to run a campaign, because money buys visibility in a capitalistic society where only the ultra wealthy own the tool and mechanisms for distribution and content management. And so we have to pay a lot of money to get in, so they inherently have more power than we do.
Right.
What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think that what we're witnessing with Trump tearing down the White House, part of the White House, without any kind of approval, without congressional approval, without any kind of historical knowledge. He's done this before in New York too. He destroyed the priceless and irreplaceable facades that were on a building that he took over, and that was one of the clauses in the contract that he agreed to was that he was going to remove this facade that was created during the New Deal. And of course, he just destroyed it because that's who he is. And it was like, oh, oopsie doopsie, what are you going to do now? And that's what we're witnessing. But the thing is, the fact that they can do this, that he does this without giving a crap about the fact that people are going to lose their health care, that people are struggling, that they're firing hundreds of thousands of Americans. It just goes to show you that we're at the point where they're not even pretending anymore. They have no fear of the American people. Even that's what's great about No King's Day, but it also makes me concerned of what you were saying, Stephanie, and that it almost seems like they know that the game is rigged, and they'll never have to atone for it. They'll never have to account for this. So we won't have anything, but we won't have the power to do anything about it. But the thing is, that what gives me hope in general is that the American people we don't have a history of kings. We don't have a history of autocrats, as much as the Republicans want to. They're all sending out pictures of Trump in crowns because they think it triggers the libs or whatever. It really just shows who the hell they are. that they hate America. Okay, thank you for the confirmation. We didn't really need it, but here it is. And but the fact is, I don't think the American people are going to stand for it, because even though it might be a delusion that we are living in a democratic republic, we still think that that's where we live, and we're not going to take a king. We're not going to. This is only going to last so long, no matter what. But watching it unfold is certainly disgusting, to say the least. But I think that what we're seeing is that they're not even hiding it anymore. How do you do this? How do you make a ballroom of all things that's going to be bigger than the White House itself? You have and lie about it. The other thing, he said he wouldn't destroy the building at all. It wouldn't be touched, and think that this is cool. I don't know.
That's why I think that people, whether they're running for dog catcher or president, ought to be running on a campaign of justice and accountability.
Yes.
Like what Trump has done in destroying federal property is a felony.
Yes.
Doing it, I do not think that the Supreme Court decision that gives the president the right to do whatever the fuck, like, I do not think that construction on the White House necessarily falls in the duties of the president. Right. So I don't think that the existing SCOTUS decision gives him top cover. But regardless of what SCOTUS has already done, like, I think that Democrats, independents, progressives, liberals, whatever people want to call themselves, real Republicans, ought to be running on a campaign of saying that we are going to make sure that the law that was in place is enforced strictly, and we are going to repair the holes that we have seen in the law over the last 10 years. I mean, the emoluments clause that we used to talk about during the first Trump administration, regarding gifts from foreign dignitaries and kings and shit, that seems to be plain language that most people who looked at it, I think, could come to their own conclusions about what constitutes, fucking bribery of the president.
Yes, right.
And SCOTUS kind of made that go away. And that is a constitution. It's not like just a random law. Like, let's plug the fucking holes. Let's make it so that it is crystal clear that an authoritarian cannot personally enrich himself. Right. He cannot destroy Americans' property.
Right.
And that he cannot, lead through a campaign of corruption and intimidation.
And we all have to be eyewitnesses to this. I think this is so important in documentation, and being vocal. In the reading, it says the hero of a David Lodge novel says, "You don't know when you make love for the last time that you are making love for the last time." And for parents, something that we hear all the time is, you never know when the last time you're going to pick up your child and carry them. You never know, because one day they're too big and you can't do it and your back hurts. And that's it. You don't pick up your child anymore. And it's not as much about guilting as about pay attention to the moment you're in and be present in that moment. And so in that vein, I was reading an article yesterday about the bombing of Guernica. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry? Guernica. The bombing of Guernica is where Spain bombed their own citizens, and didn't just do that. They invited the Nazis to come practice on their own citizens as well. And so as I was reading the article, obviously that is horrific. That happened in 1937, right? And that was the fall of Spain, essentially. And so reading the article, I was like, yeah, that's horrific. And there's always that little bit of separation when you're reading history, right? That was black and white photos. And so I read it and I was like, that's horrible. Yeah. And it wasn't the bombing that got me. It was the sentence towards the end of the article that said, when Spain restored their democracy in 1981. And I was like, hold the fuck up. 1937 to 1981. This is the fucking moment we're in. We need to be aware of the moment that we're in. Was this past election the last time we're going to be able to freely vote for our national leaders? Was it? Are we
Well,
aware?
They're going
Are
to
we
try.
paying attention of the moment we're in?
Mm-hmm.
are we paying
I think-
attention to the fact that, what was it, Smartmatic got bought out by some MAGA billionaire
Mhm.
who's
Yep.
now owns the vote machines called Liberty Vote or some shit?
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you don't think they're gonna fuck with voting, you haven't been paying attention.
Right.
No, that's why I was saying at the beginning is that I don't think there's any doubt that they're going to fuck with the voting.
Yes, there's no doubt. They're setting it up. This is why are they putting these election deniers in position of power? One of that woman who was already said that she's already notorious for being one of these maggots who say that the election was stolen. Now she's in charge of some election board. I mean, they're not giving up. And Trump, of course, he talks about it all the time. When Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer were in the office, he's handing them Trump 2028 hats. This is not a joke. This is what he does. He will not leave. Just like Michael Cohen said the first time before he, if Trump loses, there will not be a peaceful transfer of power. He said that in front of the knowing him. He said that in front of Congress, and he was correct. He sent the mob of traitors to defecate and urinate in the halls of the Capitol and trash the joint, and because they just don't want democracy. They can only take it to a point. And in every authoritarian takeover, you find that there are conservatives in power that enable it, that they open the doors for the conservative. Just like we see, for example, in the New York mayor race with Cuomo and Trump. I mean, these are two peas in a pod. And Cuomo may have a D after his name, but he's a Republican. He's for the status quo of power and corruption for the few. They throw a couple of crumbs, but they're really afraid of the people. I just don't understand it, because it's like, how much do you need, people? But eventually there will be a tipping point and the people fight back. But this is why they have the media. They have these, now they're putting flunkies in to check bias at CBS News and things like that. I mean, it's
And it was
incredible.
Dominion voting systems, not
Mhm.
Smartmatic, just to
Oh,
correct
yes.
myself, so that we have that correction on there. We're hitting right at the half-hour mark, and I do actually have to go. I've got some stuff I got to get taken care of this
Alrighty.
afternoon. Good things for a little while.
Well, that's good.
And so before we do, I like to always give everyone a quick chance to shout out where people can support them at and how they can be found. So let me move over to our next scene real quick. First off, support the network, Banner and Backbone. That's where you're going to find us at here every Friday at 12:30 Eastern time for the Anti-Fascist Book Club. We're going to be continuing our reading into On Tyranny by Timothy Snyder next week. Getting into just the heart of all of it. We may not stay on a chapter-ish basis, but we're just going to go through the heart, because we're in the heart of tyranny and authoritarianism. So come support us over on Banner and Backbone. Free subs, pay subs, whatever you want, however you can, and spread the word. We love the support. And then let me get over to all my QR codes. So let's lead it off with, we'll go from bottom up. So Tara,
Who,
let's
me?
lead it off
Oh,
with you.
wow. Well, thank you, guys. Check out my show tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern at the Tara Buster YouTube channel, youtube.com/C4channel/Tara Buster. Nick, it will be on the show tonight. So we're going to be talking about this and everything else and whatever other madness goes on during the day. So hang out with us tonight over at the Tara Buster YouTube channel, and also the Political Voices Substack. Yes. Why can't I talk? Okay. So 8:30 p.m. tonight, and I'll see you then.
Sounds great. Thanks, Tara. And look forward to talking to you tonight,
Yes.
too.
Oh, yeah. And subscribe to my Substack, please, if you can. Even free is fine. Just all of that. Sorry.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Melissa, how about you, my friend?
Yes. I've been digging through. I've sent out 3 of the 10 directives that Pete sent out to the Department of Defense to change up the way the military is operating. I've also been doing a deep dive into the NDAA, which unfortunately has already been signed. So those are going to be things that are going into law, into code, into policy, and into the UCMJ. And it is absolutely shocking what that document contains. So I'll be rolling that out starting next week, a coverage of that. And also, because I'm in Norfolk and 2 major federal cases are happening here, the flock safety case, which has now become essentially a federal case since the federal DOJ has interjected themselves into the case, and also Letitia James' case, which is beginning today. It was just an arraignment today, so nothing super spectacular, but I hope to be in the courtroom for some of those hearings next week to watch her wipe the fucking floor with this little baby prosecutor they have. So free and paid subs, please, if you're a free subscriber, make sure you're liking and sharing the content to get this information out as much as possible. And thank you so much to everyone who does subscribe. I'm constantly blown away by the support that I get. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, Melissa. Stephanie, how about you, my friend?
So I have the Freedom Over Fascism podcast, which comes out about weekly on the Substack and at anywhere you listen to your podcasts. I'm starting a new show next week, Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 1. And my focus is on talking to people with deep conversations about how we got here, what is the significance of this particular moment, and the radical creativity that we're going to need once this moment is over, which might be a lot more in the future than we all hope. So if you could, free paid subscribers would be awesome. One of the purposes of my Substack and working with all of these great people is to build a community. And I'd like to welcome you to the Freedom Over Fascism community as well.
Thank you, Stephanie. And Chris, how about you?
So for folks who are interested in starting their own anti-fascist book club or taking the reading at your own pace, you can visit veteransfightingfascism.org. The guides are there. You can download them as a PDF, or you can use the website. Again, I've enlisted Nick in helping me expand the list, which we'll get done as soon as we can. Coming up, Veterans Day. It's less than 3 weeks away, November 11th. I am planning to launch On Offense, the podcast, on that day. I'll try and do like multi-streaming platform or something like that, but who knows? Currently building a studio in my basement, so got to get that part done first.
No, you don't.
For folks who want to see some more of my work outside the military, veterans fighting fascism stuff, I am also a co-host of the Find Out podcast, which you can find out at findoutpodcast.com or on Substack. We appreciate your subscriptions. That podcast came from a bunch of dudes who were part of White Dudes for Harris, who had nothing really better to do after November. So we're a little bit, commiserating, a little bit organizing, and I'm not at all the funny one. So I'm the doomer on the podcast. That's my role. Some of the other guys are pretty funny though. So give us a follow on whatever your favorite platform is, wherever you can, wherever you listen to your podcasts. So thanks for having me, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining. And thanks for asking me to help support the growth of the book club itself. And yeah, absolutely. Go support Chris on all his platforms. I love Find Out Podcast. I absolutely support their work and Chris's work. And then finally, come support me over at Sick of This Shit Publications. I'm running a 50% off sale for the rest of this month for your first year. Free and paid subs are great. I'm just about to hit 5,000. I think I may have actually hit 5,000 while we were on the show for free subs, which is amazing. I've been on here for like 4 months, so you all are incredible. Thank you for helping me build this amazing community and being able to start Banner and Backbone. And so help me on Sick of This Shit with Nick or Sick of This Shit Publications, but also again, help us over here on Banner and Backbone. I'm one of the co-founders. The only way we can keep building this platform and spreading information and knowledge like what Melissa's doing, getting these book clubs together, building out new commitments is with your support, free, paid, whatever. Just get the word out. Today, we're streaming on like 5 different platforms. We've had an amazing audience and guests and just group of people. Thank you all so much for being here with us. We appreciate it. And next week, we'll be back again for another Anti-Fascist book club on Friday at 12:30 Eastern time. Please join us. We'll be continuing on Tyranny, and go be active. Don't just talk about things and that you want your things to change. Go actively find a way to help. Go do something productive in your community. Go write and post on social media that you want more action from those who have money and power and influence in major networks that can promote those actions and don't fight us and tell us we're wrong when we ask for them to do the things that we all need them to do. So go support us and call out those who need it, because it's not about shame for us on this side. It's about growth and organizing and commitment and going on offense. Chris has a publication on offense for a reason. It's going on offense, and that's what we need. So thanks, y'all. Have a great rest of your Friday.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. And look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a great
Thank you,
everyone.